It was good. Yeah, it was very light, but we went through a lot of situational stuff that we haven't been able to do lately, just with the lack of practice time. But it was good. Draymond was not here, still personal absence excused, and so he'll be questionable for tomorrow. But what else do you need to know?
Steph.
Yeah, Steph's on track.
What are some of the situational things you guys have wanted to work on that now you're having a chance to work on?
Press break, getting the ball in bounds late. We had a couple of those on the road trip, obviously. 3-point defense, late game situational stuff.
Defensively, we've talked a little bit this year about how you guys want to limit corner threes, and you have. But I think the last 4 years you were number one in the league in rim frequency for opposing teams. This year it's like middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like the trade-off that you're thinking about in terms of the shot distribution?
Not really. I mean, I didn't think of it that way, and it certainly wasn't the plan. I think we're doing as well as we can just based on what we're trying to accomplish, and if that means that we're not doing as well at the rim, I guess that is a possible trade-off. But generally speaking, when Draymond's on the floor, we get really good rim defense. But it's and it's never as simple as the numbers either. I thought on the road trip we played good defense, not great, and I thought both Chicago and Cleveland missed a lot of shots. And but when teams miss shots, the numbers look great, and everybody goes, "Hey, great defense," And so I'm not sure, if I trust the numbers completely in any direction. It's got to be a big sample size.
You guys have been pretty revolutionary with the way you guys have used on and off ball screens over the past decade. What do you think is very unique about the way you guys screen in this system?
I don't know that we're that unique, and I mean, we're doing stuff that teams did 30 years ago. The split cuts that came from the triangle offense from the Bulls. Jerry Sloan used to run split cuts with Utah. So it's actually adopting an old strategy at a time where most teams aren't doing that. But the game always evolves, and we are, I think, evolving ourselves this year. And we're not necessarily unique at this point. I think we were 6-7 years ago. Our split cuts remain, pretty unique, but we're also not running them as often or as well. And so we're evolving, just like the whole league is, towards more 5-out spacing, more ball movement, and just kind of finding different patterns based on the 3-point shooting and the pace and the modern game.
And then Jimmy has described Steph as playing with organized chaos a lot of times offensively. What do you think he means by that, and how do you guys play off of his gravity?
Well, Steph does stuff that, we don't necessarily draw up. He's so good running off screens that organically stuff just opens up when he happens to be in the middle of the paint and the ball starts to move, and there's just a random pin down. So you have to be ready for that randomness, because what Steph creates is chaotic for the defense. He's a threat everywhere he's on the floor, and so the defense always has to react to that. And if you're smart and you can pass, then you can take advantage of that chaos.
Another Pat Spencer question. How important is it to have a guy with that energy on a team that's contending and trying to find an identity?
How important has Pat been in that?
Like more so his energy and like the
Yeah. I mean, the energy and the competitive spirit is a huge part of winning basketball, and that's what Pat has brought to us. There's a different vibe on the floor and in the locker room with Pat doing what he's doing, and he's changed our team for sure.
You've explained that one of the reasons why Al hasn't started much this year is because it's easier to manage his minutes so he can close. Is a similar dynamic at play with D'Anthony when you kind of want to keep his minutes
Yeah.
down?
Yeah. I mean, if he were, he's 27, if he were fully healthy, we could play him 35 minutes, no problem. But given the injuries, given the long absence, we have to keep his minutes down. And so he'll continue to come off the bench.
Steve, the veterans and the young guys in the locker room seem to believe that no matter how this season goes, bumps along the way, that if you get to the postseason, that things will work out in your favor. And they're looking at Steph, Draymond, Al, and Jimmy and saying, that's why. We think if we get them there, we'll be fine. Do you ascribe to that?
Well, describe be fine.
No, ascribe. Do you believe that?
Oh, and I'm asking you to describe what does fine mean. Does that mean
They trust that
we'll be fine?
they trust that they'll make a deep run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we showed it last year. We got to the playoffs healthy, and we beat the 2 seed. Won the play-in game, beat the 2 seed, won game 1 in the conference semis. I think we had a legitimate shot last year to go deep, and I think that's what the guys are referring to. Doesn't mean you're going to, but we do have to, especially with the play-in tournament. You have to get there first and foremost. Just get there. But if you can get there in one piece, and our older guys are healthy, then we do feel like we have a
And
good
I
shot.
think part of that is because of obviously Steph and Draymond's postseason experience in the finals and Jimmy's ability to lift teams. So it makes sense when you look at it that way.
Yeah, for sure. But you have to get there. And, we had 2 years ago, we lost in the 10-9 play-in in Sacramento and season over. We had Steph and Draymond, so it's not enough to just say, let's rely on these guys and get to the playoffs in one piece. We have to become a great team. We can't, there's no skipping steps. But we have to do that within the context of these guys are going to miss some games.
Hello, Coach. Yesterday you mentioned that young players have to figure out who they are. I was wondering, how hard was it for you to find your identity when you as a player, and how long did that process take?
Well, for me, it was. It probably took 4 teams before I could find my role. I didn't have too much trouble knowing who I was because I'm not even joking. I wasn't good enough to be anybody other than the guy who takes care of the ball and makes open shots. That's who I had to be to make it in the NBA. But sometimes, you have to find the right circumstances too. So for me, it wasn't until I got to Chicago that I became a regular rotational player, and it was because of the way they played, the style of play.
And Jonathan asked a question about Jonathan. He said you guys have
Question about
Jonathan.
yeah.
He said you guys have a good relationship. How you describe this relationship as a coach, as a player?
How do I describe
This relationship
like any relationship with my players? Or
with the Jonathan Kuminga?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with him. I mean, we've communicated well over the years, and I like him, and I want the best for him. I want him to be the best player he can be, and we've had plenty of communication and film sessions over the years, and it's been a good relationship.
Steve, kind of going back to Monty's question, over the years, Bruce Bochy, managing the Giants, used to say that a winning year, a championship year, a lot has to go right. Your superstars have to perform. You have to have maybe a surprise or two, and a young guy who shines or overachieves, and some good fortune or good luck. Do you? I know it's a different sport, different season, longer season, but do you feel sort of the same way about that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Pop told me years ago after I finished playing and I was in broadcasting, and he said every championship team has to get 2 things. One is good health, good fortune with health. And then 2 is guys have to step up and make big shots. And whether it's the stars, the role players, players just have to, they got to make plays. And we saw it in 22. Jordan Poole was amazing in that playoff run, and we stayed healthy during that run. We had one injury to Gary Payton in the first round, but we were able to survive. And then we got him back in the finals. By the time we got him back, we won 4 of the next 5. So matchups can play into it. Do you get the right matchup, a team you match up well against, or are you pitted against a team that you struggle with? There's a lot of good fortune, but generally good health and guys making plays.
How are you feeling, and how optimistic are you that you're going to play tomorrow?
Feeling great. Had a good rehab week. The guys took care of business on the trip, so that was great to see the energy coming back. I'm happy to have practiced the last couple of days, see how I feel after these last 2 sessions. I'm pretty optimistic, though.
What was like your day-to-day like while you were here and the team was on the road?
A lot of long days. We always talk about rehab. It's monotonous. It's especially when the team is away. You got to have some really good playlists going for the 4 to 6 hours you're in here by yourself with Rick and Dave Taylor putting in some good work. So it was long days, but you're building to try to get back out there. He may or may not have been on some of those for sure.
What was the difference between yesterday's practice and today's practice? Was there any improvement or any sort of progress you felt like you made just between these last 2 practice sessions? Personally, yeah.
No, it's just getting more live action, getting some bumps, some competition out there. You can run, get back in shape, get shots up, and do all that with no defense. And then you remember how fast the game is, how athletic certain guys are, driving lanes, passing lanes. Literally a week, you have to remind yourself of that. So that was good to get out there and get some reps before you get back out there on the court.
Steph, where did it get you? Where was your was it kind of mid thigh? I mean, is it a hard thing to heal? Was it a lot of pain? I mean, I saw you limping last time I saw you, still kind of with a limp. Was it a pain? Pretty
Yeah, it was
painful?
a contusion that turned into or combined with a muscle strain. They call it the VMO towards the bottom of your quad. So the hardest part is getting full range of motion back, which I pretty much only got back like 3-4 days ago. Okay. But right now it's like a pain tolerance thing and just getting the strength back in it. But all the work that you put in terms of like muscle, and not to be too nerdy, but like muscle endurance and getting everything firing around the whole chain and all that type of stuff. That's what the work has been the last week. And then as I got full range of motion back, then I can get back out on the floor pretty quickly and get back to, moving normally.
And, like, to get full range of motion back, is it leg extension kind of things? And I mean, you're dealing with pain too. So.
I see you with a knee brace on, so I'm like, you're getting some homework. Yeah. I know. I might have to share my rehab routine with you.
I'm always injured, Steph. But
get that brace off of you. No. But yeah, a lot of that just basic extensions and load and all that type of stuff so that you can be strong in range. And then you got to bulletproof the rest of your body, too, while you're out.
And have you had this exact thing before? I mean, you've had some injuries over the years, but I don't remember this exact one.
I've had plenty of contusions. If you play basketball long enough, you're going to have plenty of those, but I've never had a muscle strain like that where it kind of affects that range of motion as well.
Thank you, sir.
So the team held down the fort without you, maybe found some sort of identity, some momentum. How do you sort of see things coming together when you are able to return?
The idea of just playing good basketball, making simple plays, getting organized offensively, that's what I saw the last 3 games was even after those 2 rough, first quarters we had in Philly and Cleveland, it was getting the ball moving trying to create advantages where guys were attacking closeouts, taking advantage of spacing. It seemed like we were just a little bit more organized, even though there weren't like necessarily play calls. It was, if you're open, shoot it. If you have a driving angle, take it, get off of it. The ball just had energy, and so I know, when I'm out there, I try to create the same type of actions. And then you just want guys playing with confidence, and that was what it ended up being like in Chicago. It was great to see everybody felt involved, everybody was playing, reading the game and taking the shots that you're supposed to take. So nothing should change when I'm out there.
What did you think about the emergence of Pat Spencer on the road trip?
It was amazing to watch. Like we've seen it over the summers. Practice, when he's been out there in short spurts, like he just has a presence about him that he just knows the game, plays with 120% of confidence every time he's out there. And as a kind of a playmaker role, it was cool to see him kind of, adapt to what we needed pretty much overnight. And I think it'll only help us as we keep moving forward. I know when I'm out there to be able to play off the ball with, him, initiating, taking advantage of the space and all that type of stuff, it should be pretty seamless. So I'm happy for him. Obviously, he puts the work in, and again, he's been waiting for his time, and it's cool to see him take advantage of it.
I know, this is a two-way player. I mean, what do you think about the juice he kind of injected into the team as well, like the competitive spirit, because he had to have that, but sort of showing that fight in these games when you guys needed some wins on the road?
Yeah, it's contagious. We try to play with joy. I know I do. I think me and him are competing for like crazy celebrations and stuff. It's a contagious vibe when you have a guy out there that's showing that emotion. Like, and it's natural, it's organic, it's authentic, it's who he is. I remember the first day I played a pickup with him, he was talking trash to me like 3 years ago, and right before training camp. So it's nothing new. It's just great for the world to see it.
And said, "I'm that MFer in a game."
I think I said this is my something house one time, but it's probably as close as I got. Yeah, that was clean though. That was.
What'd you take away from your playing with DeAnthony for those 6 games last year, and what are you looking forward to about pairing up with him again now that he's back?
Just a guy that understands what this level is all about, and he has a way of making the game very simple. He's a good shooter, knockdown. When he's open, he can put the ball on the floor, play pick and roll, create on the backside, and then obviously defensively, we know what he does, disrupting the ball. He's just a prototypical like NBA 2 guard that can do a little bit of everything, and so we saw it last year. We were kind of hitting strides. I remember we played, I think it was like the OKC, Dallas, that little stretch last year where tough games, and he made his presence felt. And then, unfortunately, it ended. But he picked up right where he left off in Philly. It was great to see. Another guy that I'm talking about my 2-week rehab. He was in the gym every day for a whole year trying to get back. So I'm glad he's seeing the payoff for the work that he's put in.
Steph, you kind of touched on it a couple minutes ago, but you guys have all talked about finding the rhythm, finding a rotation consistently. How far do you think you guys are now from that?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Nick. did not hear a word you said because of your hat, and I don't know if you wore that on purpose to this NFC South battle. I just don't like it.
Charlotte and Orlando.
I'm sorry. I'm hoping that y'all don't have a good night tonight so that we can, take claim of the NFC South lead and know we got 2 good games coming up, week 6, next week and 2 weeks later. Sorry, I'm in football mode. What was the question?
Baker and Bryce. I mean, come on.
Bryce all day. Sorry, what was your question?
All you guys have talked about all year is finding the identity but finding the rhythm it'll come, it'll come.
Yeah.
Watch what happened the last couple of weeks. How close do you think you all are from finally finding the consistent rhythm you've been searching for?
I mean, we'll see. I think the goal and the challenge is to maintain that focus on continue to get better even when things don't go your way. The resiliency that a team shows over 82. Nobody's happy with our record. Nobody's feeling like, we're a day away from being the best team in the league, but we also know, like, the journey ahead is right there for us. And for us to bounce back the way we did from the Philly game and in that road trip the way that, they did, that speaks volumes to, I guess, mentally where we are and how long can you sustain it. So our job is to just stay in the moment and enjoy the challenge of trying to become a good team, because we're not yet, but we are starting to feel what it takes. And then the biggest challenge is also with so many guys that coach can throw out there, how do you stay ready? How do you stay in rhythm? How do you take advantage of your minutes, no matter how, when you're out there, how long you're out there? I feel like we've been talking about that for a couple of years where we're deep, but we also are trying to figure out how to put that together on a night-to-night basis. So, again, optimistic, but you don't want to just talk it. You got to go do it.
Hello, Stephen. Yesterday, Steve coach said the young player needed to figure out who they are. So I was wondering, how long did that process you take when you were young, and how hard it was?
I think the hardest part is just every year, actually probably as a young guy, multiple times a year, your role can change kind of on the fly, and how do you adapt while maintaining your idea of who you are as a player. And also what's going to keep you around in this league and what you can do to help a team win. That then you'll get rewarded for that as you go through. So for me, it was my rookie year was trying to plug into a team that really didn't have an identity. Then I was really only the last half of the year was just focused on playing. Then that next year is like, how do you continue to make winning plays, especially down the stretch, because I didn't get to play much in fourth quarter is my second year, and then it was continuing to evolve from there. So, like, everybody's journey is a little different, but that balance of who do you think you are as a player versus what does the team need you to do in any given moment throughout a year, and then also what is going to help that team win / like, where's the league going and what kind of role can you establish? Like, all those things you have to kind of assess on a daily basis. So it's a difficult challenge for everybody, but everybody's journey is a little different.
You mentioned earlier just with everyone making the most of their minutes, but now with Pat, Brandon, Moses, Buddy, Seth, Gary, probably forgetting guys, but how do you view, like, the competition for minutes among the guards?
Yes, I mean, it's stacked, and everybody does it a little differently, but within the offense and the defense, the biggest part is just playing hard and playing confident. I keep saying that, but it is very simple mindset, but hard to do. So thankfully we have a lot of great personalities that are well-equipped to handle whether it goes your way or not on any given day, because we're all pretty together. I think we all understand it's not you're going at anybody, but the competition is healthy for a team to figure out, how to win at the highest level. So most of those guys have been in that position throughout their careers anyway, so it's kind of a continuation of their stories.
Jimmy has described you as playing with organized chaos offensively. What do you think he means by that, and is it difficult, you think, to play off of your gravity, or like a learning curve for playing off your gravity?
The organized chaos is, I play fast. I can play on the ball, off the ball, and the line is usually the play starts once I get off of it, because I'm either, running out the other side of the court, coming off a screen, trying to create attention no matter where I am on the floor. I don't think it's hard to play. It's just an adjustment of, like, the reads that you need to make and how fast they happen. But the organized part of it is a big deal because there are certain patterns that you see more often than others, and in the sense of where I'm at, where the ball is at, and what options you have, whether you're going to screen, whether you're going to cut, whether you're going to stay spaced to shoot, whatever the case is. Reps help, and being in that situation where you get to see the pictures, it's a little bit easier, but it's a fun way to play, I feel like, because you don't really know who's going to get it on either possession. The ball usually, finds the open guy.
When you watched your team go into Cleveland, which has handled you guys pretty well the last couple of years, go into Cleveland without you, without Draymond, without Jimmy, without Al, and come out with a W, what was your takeaway from that game and what you saw?
A competitive spirit and guys that really just they care about the game and they understand that they belong in this league and they're supposed to be able to help win games like that. And it was especially how the game started. Like we had was it 12 points at the end of the game? I mean, in the first quarter. And to be able to stick with it. It also talks about our defense, keeping that team under 100. And we've been able to do that pretty consistently no matter who's been out there on the floor. So that's been great to see. But whether shots go in or not, it's just about playing hard, moving on to the next play, and guys playing with confidence. I'm going to keep saying it. That's a big part of sustaining like high-level basketball, playing with confidence no matter how the game's going.
How difficult is the challenge of sustaining, your word, those last two games and how they went, the way you closed out the games in Cleveland and then the way you blew away the Bulls?
Yeah, I think you would love to have come back 3-0 on that trip, and I talked to a lot of guys who were there who felt, that disappointment at the end of the Philly game. I do like the order that it happened, like that game that didn't go our way, and then to have two bounce-back wins like that versus the opposite, where you come home after a tough down-to-the-wire win. Like, morale's pretty high, and it's great to see the guys feel what it's like to go out and have an idea of how you're supposed to execute and then actually do it. That's another contagious feeling throughout a long 82-game season.
Thanks. I was wondering if we can go back to those comments from Steve Kerr where he said young players have to figure out who they are as players. And I'm curious to get your take about Jonathan Kuminga's situation right now, because the word consistency keeps coming up for him. So when a young player is trying to find out who he is, what's his individual responsibility to grow, whether it's time after practice or doing the right things in the off season? And alongside that, what's a team's responsibility to help a player develop and fit?
It's a partnership for sure. Especially, with the situation we have where, it's been the same coach, the same system, and it's just a matter of trying to ask the right questions, be honest with yourself both ways around, are you doing things that's the message is being heard, and are you actually out there on the court trying to do the right things? And really the hardest part is whether it's going well or whether it's not losing your spirit. That's been JK's challenge as a young player is things change so quickly, and there's all these declarations about what or who he is as a player, does he fit, and all that type of stuff. And we still have high hopes that, he'll impact our team, this year. But it's just an idea you can't lose your spirit if things aren't going your way because, you're a game or two away from it coming right back to you. And if you've checked out or if you're still not, engaged in the learning process, then you might miss your moment on the back end. So it is a back and forth, and it's the responsibility of both sides. And then, as a team, it's our job to support him because we know he's a great dude, very talented player, and we still, again, have belief that he can help us.
How was practice last 2 days?
Practice was good. Just being able to practice. We haven't really had a chance to, getting some time off. Just kind of dealing with some nagging injuries for some of us. But just getting on the court, going over our stuff, seeing what worked the last few games, so building off of that and just continuing to work.
Trayce, how does Steph look to you out there?
like Steph. I mean, at the end of practice today, he hit me with like a triple combo and hit a rainbow three, so if that tells you anything.
The reason that you guys have some time off this week is because you didn't make it to the NBA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like the incentives are kind of off there in terms of you kind of get rewarded for not succeeding in cup games?
I mean, say it is what it is. Obviously, we wanted to win the cup. That was our first and foremost one of our goals this year. But at the end of the day, the schedule that we've had has been kind of brutal, and some of those cup games were because of that. And so I think it goes 50-50 where maybe you play more games in a shorter amount of time, and now since you didn't make, you get a little bit more time off.
Obviously, Al's kind of been in and out of the lineup because of his injury. How is he still sort of helping you bigs, like sort of, stay active and everything?
Yeah, I think just a testament to him. He didn't have to go on the trip, especially him being hurt, but he did. And he's always talking to me, talking to QP, talking to the rest of our guys, just telling us things we can do better on the court, things that will help us, always being a great teammate, clapping, and that just kind of shows who he is as a player in person.
You know Pods pretty well. What have you discovered about the way that he can handle the ups and downs of a season?
Yeah, the way that he just handles himself, the amount of pressure that's put on him is crazy sometimes, and a lot of people can't deal with that. And just the way that he can internalize it, he can still go out there and play well. It's just a part of the process and part of growing, and I salute it to him because it's not easy, and obviously we all go through our ups and downs, but with him just being able to come to work every day, bringing positive energy, it's a testament to who he is as a person.
Does he put pressure on himself too?
Absolutely. I don't think any of us would be here if we didn't put pressure on ourselves to be the best that we can be. And he's always striving to be the best player he can be. And he's going to continue to be crazy, show a lot of emotion. That's just who he is as a person. And so I love being his teammate, and I love what he's done this year.
Trayce, Steve always implies that you're at your best when you're playing with a certain edge or a certain vengeance, or however you want to call it. When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
I mean, I just think that the way that he describes it is just bringing energy on the court. I feel like the last two games I've done pretty well with that, and he's always saying it's about running the floor, pace into screen, stuff like that can get us, our guys going, get us open looks, because putting pressure on the rim, making defenses collapse and stuff of that nature. And so I just got to continue to do what I'm doing. I felt like the last two games I found a little bit of a rhythm, a connection with some of the guys on the floor. So just continuing to build off of that and just building from that.
And this is something you guys, you and your other bigs might talk about from time to time, but how do you guys navigate some of the screens that become fouls, because different referees do it differently, so how do you play that game?
Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes you got the guards going early, so you got to get out the way. But a big thing that I've been focused on as of recently is stopping a little earlier than usual, kind of letting the guard come off and then kind of chopping my feet a little bit and getting wider, so it's harder for them to call fouls. So it's worked. I just got to continue to work at it. But overall, I felt like it's been pretty solid the last few games.
You guys have been running a lot more pick and roll in those last two games. Has that kind of helped you, I guess, find a rhythm out there on the floor, running high screen roll with Pat and them?
Yeah, I even think the game against OKC, just watching that, and the league in general has gone to high ball screens, motion, 5-out offense, and that's something that coach has really put an emphasis on. He's like, we want to play less play calls and just going and running and setting those random ball screens and just playing with motion and pace and just firing on all cylinders. And I think that when we do that, we're really tough to beat.
How can you capitalize off the success you guys have had in these minutes without Steph, and how can you carry that into when he returns, those non-Steph minutes?
Yeah, I think it was a boost of confidence for our group. Obviously, we need Steph Curry. one of the best players in the league, one of the best players in the world. But Steph's not someone that's going to be like, you guys need to cater to me. Steph can go get 40 whenever. And so I think we just need to continue to play how we play. And obviously he's going to fit into that mold because he is who he is, and just go from there.
And then defensively, you guys have held 3 straight opponents below 100 points. What has really worked for you guys on that side?
I just think that just the aggressiveness in pick and roll, and shout out to Moses and QP. They played really, really well on defense, and so those are just bringing that energy, bringing that tenacity on the defensive end of the floor, and then you see one guy do it, and then the whole team kind of fires off of that.
Right now, there's a lot of outside noise, trade rumors, stuff like that. How do you and as a team like sort of ignore that type of stuff and just focus on the basketball?
You got to control what you can control. Being my 3rd year, this isn't anything new. This is how it is in the NBA. It's a business. At the end of the day, you just got to go out there every day, do what you do, and at the end of the day, the team's going to make decisions. Those are past any of the players on the floor and what we do, and so that's all we can do is just play.